Okay, so 24th June 2022. Let's see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Look at the first page, the important development from IR section. BRICS support dialogue between Russia and Ukraine. Okay, so BRICS virtual summit happened, hosted by China, and what are the let's say statements by different leaders of these nations we'll cover here. At the same time, we will cover the basics of BRICS from prelims examination. We will revise that aspect. Tomorrow or day after tomorrow, there will be editorial talking about the analysis of the outcome of BRICS. Then we will cover the outcome from mains perspective, GS2 paper, IR section. Okay. Now, on page number 6, all articles, they are either political in nature or they are not directly relevant to our examination. Okay, but yes, on page number 9, bottom side, directly relevant to our examination, talking about the problems plaguing thermal power generators or GenCos, generating companies in India, power generating companies in India, on page number 9, op-ed page. Okay, so this article talks about why we are facing the power crisis in India in last 2 months especially. So everything at one place, including the appropriate data, the graph, the charts are given. So you can use this for GS3 paper economy part. We are expecting question in mains examination this year. Yes. Now moving on to the next page, on bottom side, page number 10, bottom side, Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC. Now what is this ONDC? The new initiative launched by Government of India in April month as a pilot basis in 5 cities of India. So we will find out this let's say basics of Open Network for Digital Commerce. You should briefly know about it for your prelims examination, economy section. Okay, so like they are asking some concepts or new initiatives, new terminologies in news, in economy section and science and technology section in prelims examination. Okay, so sometimes ONDC, sometimes seen in news recently, is related to which of the following? Such kind of question can be asked in prelims examination. So this is basically the non-profit organization which will look into or which will connect all the buyers and sellers and the aggregators together on one single platform. At present, whatever the thing that we want to buy, suppose we have to go to each and individual's e-commerce platform, है ना? हमें कुछ खरीदना है तो हम देखते हैं, गूगल पे सर्च करते हैं, तो क्या होता है, वो अमेजॉन, फ्लिपकार्ट अलग अलग उनके ऐप से वेबसाइट पे डाइवर्ट कर देता है, राइट? सो हियर द प्रॉब्लम इज फेस्ड बाय बोथ द सेलर्स एज वेल एज बायर्स. Buyers have to look into all these products at different platforms, not single platform. Sellers have to sell on different platforms to increase their the base of customers. So these are the hurdles faced by the people, and that's why this unique platform will host all the sellers and all e-commerce platforms and single platform, and from that the consumer who is registered for different e-commerce website, they can access there itself all these products. That means the consumer who is registered from on Amazon platform can buy a particular good from Flipkart on that platform. Basically it is replicating the philosophy used in UPI. UPI में क्या होता है? Be it phone pay app, Paytm app or Google Pay app, UPI is common, no? Whatever the UPI ID that you are having, so that is common platform everywhere. So same manner this is going to be replicated for e-commerce, and this is being implemented because the demand and supply is, there is huge mismatch. Demand is huge for e-commerce in India, but supply is not appropriate. Okay? Because of that the government is launching this initiative. Now next, on page number 12, India reopens embassy in Kabul, sends aid. Now almost after 1 year we have reopened the embassy in Afghanistan. Okay, last year because of the Taliban taking over Afghanistan, we had shut down our embassy along with most of the countries. So now we have reopened it and sent the aid especially to those people affected because of the earthquake. Recently there was earthquake in the province which is having border with Pakistan. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे हमने immediately अभी aid send किया हुआ है, basic aid. Fine. Now on page number 14. Okay, so India is central to Australia's worldview, Deputy PM. So yesterday also we talked about this, what Deputy PM of Australia is talking. He is visiting India. So several talks between the External Affairs Minister, Defence Minister and the Deputy PM of Australia happened. So as a follow-up to India-Australia relations, you should read this article. Okay, so वो आपके notes में आप add कर सकते हैं वो read करके directly. No significant development although. Now on page number 15, India promises Sri Lanka fullest support. Okay, so this is important because the Sri Lanka has sought further $500 million from India to import fuel and is awaiting a response. So high level delegation headed by the foreign secretary, he is visiting we can say Sri Lanka at present, and the final decisions will be further taken. So India-Sri Lanka relations, we are expecting question this year in mains examination. So many developments are happening, and the Sri Lankan crisis, India has come to aid to Sri Lanka. Largely the Sri Lanka is dependent on India here economically. You can see that since the start of this year. Now Supreme Court order expand gun rights in US. Recently several mass shooting instances happened in different states of US. And because of that, there was criticism of gun laws in US, and people started demanding, strong gun laws in US. However, the Supreme Court has taken a very different decision here, and justices with 6-3 decision follows series of recent mass shooting and expected to ultimately allow more people to legally carry guns on the street of nation's largest cities. Okay, so instead of reducing or having more gun control, now basically it is allowing more people to carry guns. ठीक है, you should know that it is fundamental right of US citizens under US Constitution to carry in a legal way guns for their self protection. ठीक है, तो ऐसे इंडिया में नहीं है. You may be knowing about this. ठीक है. So of course, but illegal let's say carrying weapons, it is banned in India also and in US also. But we should know that when the people are allowed to legally carry the guns, there is more scope for misuse. ठीक है. So misuse, or we can say that how do you understand that the person has used the gun for the self defense? ठीक है. At the same time, there is new kind of culture being spread in US and other developed countries among the youth, especially the adolescents. Okay, already the hatred that is spreading on the let's say social media website and all these things, and thereafter that this is happening. So they are easily having access to illegal arms. ठीक है. You should know that US is one of the leading nation for arms exports. वहाँ पे प्राइवेट कंपनीज को आर्म्स एक्सपोर्ट का लाइसेंस दिया जाता है. Yes. In India, such kind of thing is not there. Very restricted access is there, and very less companies are allowed. That too now only recently they are let's say allowed for manufacturing of arms and ammunitions. Up till now, whatever the government let's say PSUs were, they were only we can say having the rights. तो उसकी वजह से भी काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम है. सो Yes, this is the problem, no? So from miscellaneous perspective, you should know that such kind of decisions are taken in US, because see, in interview there may be question whether India should have such kind of fundamental right. ठीक है, तो just you should be aware what is happening in different parts of the world. Now on page number 16, government said to aim to keep deficit at 6.7%. So yes, the government is facing some kind of heat here to maintain the fiscal prudence, fiscal discipline, as we know that the government revenue is less as the duty cuts are being done, excise duty on fuel has cut down, so revenue कम हो सकता है government का अगले एक साल में, and at the same time the expenditure needs to be increased so as to ensure the continued economic growth, है ना? So from economy perspective we should have follow up on these decisions. Fiscal deficit. Okay, let us discuss now in detail. First one, the problems plaguing the thermal power generators. Okay, so the context you should know that in last 2 months thermal power plants, coal-fired thermal power plants faced a lot of problems, especially accessing coal from the domestic production as well as imports, and they were having very less buffer stock with them, and it has also resulted into power cuts in different parts of the country. In last 2 months, as temperatures soared and economy recovered, the power demand breached 200 megawatt level on several occasions. Okay, and this, let's say, temperature we have seen April and May month, March, April, May month, and economic recovery. This has boosted the demand for more power. This is for cooling purpose and for overall industrial consumption, we can say economic recovery, this aspect. Then to bridge the gap between the shortage in domestic supply and increasing demand, the power generating companies or GENCOs were directed to use imported coal for 10% of their requirement by the government, failing which their domestic supplies would be cut. Such kind of warning was given, directions were given by the central government. Okay, now you should know that India is the second largest producer of coal. Yesterday or day before yesterday in foundation batch we learned about this. After China, India is the largest producer with reserves that could last up to 100 years. Okay, so yes, we know that we have huge amount of coal, and despite of that, let's say shortage of coal supply continues to be an issue. We should know the reason. This will be directly question statement in the examination. Okay, and this question can be asked in GS1 geography part also, because the resources, distribution of natural resources, it is part of our syllabus. So first reason we should know that the domestic production in last 2 to 3 years has been stagnant. Since 2018 the domestic production has been stagnant. वहाँ पे एक चार्ट दिया है, बहुत सारे चार्ट दिए हैं आर्टिकल में, तो एक चार्ट ये बता रहा है कि how the domestic production is working out. So it has been stagnant, and recently it has revived, especially this year, because of increasing demand. Okay, so domestic supply has been on lower side of this coal, one of the reason. Then second is that as domestic supply was less, the GENCOs were dependent on the imported coal, but GENCOs are not importing in recent times. They are reluctant to import coal. Why? The dip in imports can be attributed to high prices of coal in international market, especially in last 4-5 months. ठीक है, जब से ये यूक्रेन वॉर शुरू हुआ है तब से और ज़्यादा जो है इंटरनेशनल प्राइसेस जो है कोल के ज़्यादा रहे. So that's why they are not importing also. They are more dependent on local domestic supply. But government has directed them to import minimum 10% of their requirements. Then States are wary of using imported coal as it would raise the cost of power substantially, because there is high cost of coal in the international market. अगर हाई कॉस्ट पे कोल खरीदेंगे तो पावर प्रोडक्शन का कॉस्ट बढ़ेगा. अल्टीमेटली दैट विल बी पास्ड ऑन टू कंज्यूमर एंड द कंज्यूमर विल नॉट लाइक इट. अल्टीमेटली द गवर्नमेंट मे हैव टू पे फ्रॉम इट्स रेवेन्यू. तो गवर्नमेंट नहीं चाहता है कि वो, या स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स स्पेशली, दे डू नॉट वांट द कोल टू बी इंपोर्टेड. देन द डिस्कॉम्स, सपोज ये कोल का जो पावर प्रोडक्शन का प्राइस बढ़ गया है, सपोज देयर इज इंक्रीज इन द पावर प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट, अल्टीमेटली दैट विल पास्ड ऑन टू whom? Discoms. Okay, per unit cost will increase for electricity and discoms ultimately have to pass on to the consumer, but the government will ask discoms to not pass on this price to the consumer and the government may have to pay to the discoms. But discoms are already facing several issues in India. Rather, it is weakest link in the power production in India. What is the link of power production in India? How the power production happens? First of all, you should know there is Coal India Limited for extraction of coal, mining. Okay, extraction of coal happens. Then thereafter, there is agreement of Genco's coal. No, there is agreement between Genco's and, yes, so generating companies are basically having power plants. They are having power plants, right? And these Gencos are having agreement with discoms. So transmission is there, no, between Gencos and discoms, and then from discoms to the final consumer. From discoms to the final consumer. This is the link. The weakest link is being considered this discoms. Why? Let us understand that. See, the discoms owe long-standing dues to the tune of 1.16 lakh crore to the Gencos. First thing, they are loss-making entities. They are loss-making entities, partly due to inefficient working. Partly due to inefficient working. Second reason is that government is not paying the discoms the subsidies which it provides. Okay, at the subsidized rate it is providing electricity to certain section. So ultimately the government has to pay, but government is delaying that payment. So discoms further loss making. Discoms are facing lot of, let's say, those AT&C losses, जिसको हम बोलते हैं ट्रांसमिशन लॉसेस और वर्किंग के जो लॉसेस है. सो दिस इज अल्टीमेटली रिजल्टिंग इनटू लॉस ऑफ वी कैन से रेवेन्यू. देन अपार्ट फ्रॉम प्रोवाइडिंग पावर एट चीपर रेट्स, सम स्टेट गवर्नमेंट डू नॉट रिवाइज टैरिफ पीरियडिकली. दिस इज वेरी सेंसिटिव political issue. Okay, power tariff is very sensitive issue. We can say it is electoral issue directly. Like government announced we will provide free electricity up to 100 units, 200 units. We see what is happening in Punjab, recent elections.
Recently Delhi government also from October onwards this subsidy will close.
Of course, otherwise they will not be able to work properly. ठीक है, उनके revenues ही नहीं रहेगा. Then delay in getting compensation from government also compounds woes of crash trap discounts. ये delay करते हैं payment government जो है. So you should write this exactly 5 points in your answer. ठीक है, and write supporting data, how much loss they are making, or let's say how much they owe to the Gencos. ये इनको ओ करता है, जेनकोज इनको ओ करता है, फिर ये प्रोडक्शन ठीक से नहीं कर पाता है. राइट, अल्टीमेटली दे हैव टू प्रोड्यूस. नो, इनका कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग नहीं हो रहा है, एक्सपांशन फॉर एक्सट्रैक्शन. कोल इंडिया लिमिटेड, ऑल्दो इट इज प्रॉफिट मेकिंग एंटिटी, यू शुड नो दैट इट इज वन ऑफ द मेजर प्रॉफिट मेकिंग PSU ऑफ इंडिया, बट इट इज नॉट एबल टू एक्सपांड इट्स कैपेसिटीज. नो, बिकॉज स्टिल द पेमेंट्स फ्रॉम जेनकोज इट इज नॉट देयर। हाँ, ये आपको पता होना चाहिए, ठीक है, फाइन, अंडरस्टूड। नाउ India promises Sri Lanka fullest support. So you should know that recently again Sri Lanka has made request to extend the support of $500 million from India to import fuel, and India, it is waiting a response from India. So India on Thursday assured Sri Lanka of its fullest support to help the island tide over its unprecedented economic crisis while considering further financial assistance. You should know that a delegation from India led by Foreign Secretary and Department of Economic Affairs Secretary, so Chief Economic Advisor also along with them, they visited the island nation, and during the visit spanning barely half a day, the Indian officials met President as well as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, okay, and held the discussions. Now you should know that India had assisted this year around $3.5 billion rupees since January 2022 in the form of currency swaps, loan deferments and credit lines for essential imports. Exactly ऐसे ही आंसर में लिखना है, okay. Then Colombo, that is Sri Lanka, has sought further 500 million from India to import fuel and is awaiting response. You should know the basics of bilateral relations, especially the recent developments. From the beginning of this year, India has signed key bilateral agreements with Sri Lanka to jointly develop Trincomalee oil tank farm and set up through the National Thermal Power Corporation a solar power plant in Sampur. ये recent answer में आने चाहिए developments. These both let's say are located in eastern province of Sri Lanka. In the renewable energy sector, India's Adani Group signed an agreement to execute projects in Mannar and Punarin in northern province, sparking controversy over its entry into island's energy sector outside of any known competitive bidding process. Sri Lanka has defended the 500 billion deal. Recently ये controversy हुआ था क्या? Sri Lankan higher official had said that under the pressure from Indian Prime Minister, Sri Lanka has taken this decision to award this power plants to Adani Group. But immediately the person official was suspended. Okay, the comment was withdrawn by that official, and the government of Sri Lanka defended the decision. ठीक है, तो ये आपको recent controversy वाला भी पता होना चाहिए. Because see, Sri Lanka is very much dependent on India now from to deal with this economic crisis.
Because they lost their hope on China.
Yes, of course, they are now understanding what is the reality.
So they realized about the China character.
Yes, yes. Now, government said to aim to keep deficit at 6.7%. You should know that earlier in February, government set the fiscal deficit target of 6.4% of GDP for this year, compared with the deficit of 6.7% in the last financial year. But फिर से अभी problems है, इसलिए हम जो है target हमारा 6.7% पे aim कर रहे हैं. Okay, so budgeted deficit target जो था 6.4% का, we may miss this target, but we want to let's say reduce it or maintain it between up to 6.7%. Okay, the reasons you should know here that the government is facing pressure from the revenue front because of tax cuts, duty cuts on fuel. Tax cuts and duty cuts on fuels and edible oil and some of the imported we can say items. इसकी वजह से क्या हो रहा है, गवर्नमेंट का रेवेन्यू कम हो रहा है, right? And along with that the government is increasing expenditure, especially capex जिसको बोलते हैं हम, capital expenditure. Okay, so there cannot be compromise on capital expenditure. The third aspect you should know, the country is facing inflation issue. Because of that, the currency is depreciating, CAD is increasing, current account deficit, forex reserves are declining. On that front also there is heat, pressure. So that's why you should know that fiscal, although the government is following the fiscal prudence, but there may be, let's say, concerns related to fiscal slippage. Fine. So you should know about these terms also and the new target that we want to maintain. India reopens embassy in Kabul, sends aid. After almost 1 year of shutting down its embassy in Afghanistan, now we have reopened it. India sent a technical team of officials to be based in Kabul and reopen its embassy. India also sent first consignment of aid for the earthquake relief assistance to Afghanistan. Right. A reconstituted team comprising of security and engineering personnel has now been sent to Kabul with purpose of setting up of consular and visa arrangements, distribution of humanitarian assistance, as well as to oversee maintenance and restart various development projects Indian companies had undertaken in Afghanistan. Yes, this is good decision. The opening of embassy is a step towards working more closely with Taliban regime, and particularly as India worries about impact of terrorist groups, drug trade and migration on the in the region. ठीक है, तो ये आपको पता होना चाहिए issues क्या क्या है. Now, the BRICS summit happened, the virtual summit. Our Prime Minister participated. This summit was hosted by Chinese President, right? So, what Russian President has said, blaming selfish actions by Western countries for economic crisis due to sanctions. Russian President called for strengthening of BRICS. Then Prime Minister Modi focused on importance of BRICS in the post-pandemic global economic recovery. हमने उस पर कोई कमेंट नहीं किया है, ठीक है, इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शंस के ऊपर, बट रशिया एंड चाइना हैड कमेंटेड ऑन दैट. Okay, so our Prime Minister has let's say emphasized on practical cooperation in the number of areas that BRICS countries are doing, including new development bank, satellite agreement, COVID research and development center set up in South Africa, mutual recognition of pharma products including COVID vaccines and medicines. In recent times, the areas of cooperations have been these ones. Then, as an outcome of this summit, Beijing Summit Declaration said that BRICS countries recalled their national positions as expressed at the UN over the past few months. Okay, so basically you should know BRICS countries have unified voice at UN.
Because of the most of the percentage of voting also Western countries compared to
Yes.
Western countries.
See, ब्रिक्स इज दैट प्लेटफॉर्म. हमें एक सिग्निफिकेंट, हमारे लिए क्यों सिग्निफिकेंट है ब्रिक्स, वो जानना चाहिए अच्छे से. इट इज सिग्निफिकेंट फॉर इंडिया बिकॉज इंडिया बीइंग द पार्ट ऑफ क्वाड, it is perceived as more alignment with the West and US, and to balance out that and have good relations with both Russia and China, we need to be a good member of BRICS and SCO. Okay, so Shanghai Cooperation Organization as well as BRICS, where China and Russia both are members. So we should understand, we need to balance these interests so that our strategic autonomy is maintained.
Because of our neighbor country economy as well as the dependent economy on Russia also we need to.
Yes, we want to have trade with both blocks and we want to have good strategic relations from defense perspective. We are having defense imports from Russia as well as US. And we want to have good relations with China also. We don't want to make it angry. ठीक है? Yes. So that's why we have good relations, and that's why BRICS is important for us. Now some basics about BRICS for prelims examination. Yes, grouping of Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Then the first BRIC summit took place in 2009 in Russia, and in 2010 South Africa joined. Together it is called BRICS. The chairmanship of forum is rotated annually among the members in accordance with the acronym of BRICS. Now this year it was China, the next year will be South Africa. Okay, next year it will be South Africa. And this leader summit is convened annually. Now you should know that 2014 Fortaleza declaration has been very significant. In 2014 or 15 in prelims examination, immediately UPSC asked question related to Fortaleza declaration about BRICS. The BRIC nations signed BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement CRA in 2014 as a part of Fortaleza declaration at 6th BRICS summit. This aims to provide short-term liquidity support to the members through currency swaps to help mitigating BOP crisis situation and further strengthen financial stability. So any kind of BOP crisis, if it happens, so the country can access this CRA. In general, we know that BOP crisis, the countries can go to IMF. IMF is for this purpose only, to deal with BOP crisis, the currency crisis, and this is another platform where these countries can go. Now, initial total commitment resources for CRA shall be $100 billion, okay, US dollars we can say 100 billion. Now along with this decision, Fortaleza declaration also led to formation of New Development Bank. Okay, New Development Bank, its headquarter is in Shanghai. Its headquarter is in Shanghai. You should know that the New Development Bank has maximum loans that are sanctioned for India also, and the share of each member is equal here, 20% for all countries. ठीक है. Then open network for digital commerce. Now this is important, this is new. ONDC, what is the meaning here? Let us understand the context. This open network for digital commerce was launched in April 2022 by government as a pilot project in 5 cities of India. Let us understand the objective and the basics of this. This was launched to democratize the country's fast growing digital e-commerce space that is currently dominated by 2 US headquarters firms, Amazon and Walmart. Walmart is having substantial stakes in Flipkart. You should be aware about this. Amazon is one dominant player and other is Flipkart. Okay. Then what is ONDC? This particular entity will be non-profit entity, organization that will offer a network to enable local digital commerce stores across industries to be discovered and engaged by any network enabled applications. Basic aspect you should know that it enables buying of products from all participating e-commerce platforms by the consumers through a single platform. It will be a single platform. If you search anything, different sellers and different e-commerce platforms that will be shown there to the consumer. The consumer can directly click and compare this and buy that from any platform.
Nothing but our government, central government is using one website. So all ministry departments come in a single platform.
E-marketplace. That is for specifically government, but this is we can say for all people, open.
Model is same.
Model is networking only. Okay. So under, let's say it is neither an aggregator application nor a hosting platform. That means it is not hosting any e-commerce entity or something like that. And it is not aggregator. That means it is not having any kind of agreement with the sellers or buyers. It is not aggregator like the what you can say, the Flipkart or Amazon or any Zomato, these companies, they are Ola cabs, they are aggregators. Okay, so they are just connecting the sellers and buyers, service providers and service consumers, है ना? So this platform will not be the aggregator or hosting platform. Rather, existing digital commerce applications and platform can voluntarily choose to adopt and be part of ONDC network. So that means the different like Amazon, Walmart or Chroma, all their platform, they can participate in this network. If they sign into this network, then their products will be visible to consumer and the same platform. Okay, and the consumer will be able to buy them from that platform directly.
So
Or
it's not necessary to sign with this.
it is not necessary to sign for that particular e-commerce platform. It is not necessary to be member of Amazon to have access to that product. Okay, at present, suppose if you want to buy something from Amazon, you will required to be logged in into Amazon, no? होता है ना ऐसे? You will required to be logged in into Amazon, then only it will provide its service.
But the operators will not obey the conditions. Because
No, they will ultimately, because they want to expand the consumer base. Ultimately, see, they are the dominant players. They will be more hesitant. But the small players will be benefiting here.
the consumer will be very beneficial.
Consumer will benefit, small players will be benefiting. Under ONDC, it is envisaged that the buyer registered on one participating e-commerce platform, for example, Amazon, may purchase goods from the seller on another participating e-commerce site, for example, Flipkart. Understood this? Okay, suppose I am having, let's say, I am the member of Amazon. I will be able to buy from Flipkart without its membership or without, let's say, being logged in into Flipkart platform. Understood this?
So who gets the benefit in Flipkart or Amazon?
See, the benefit is of seller on the Flipkart platform. Who is benefiting here? Whose consumer base is expanding? The seller on Flipkart platform. Ultimately, the Flipkart is also benefiting. उसका नाम आ रहा है ना वहाँ पर, right? So ultimately Flipkart will be also benefiting, ठीक है? Because it will promote that seller. Ultimately there will be some money that seller will give to Flipkart, no, to host him on that platform, है ना? तो उनका कट होता है, ठीक है? जो भी मतलब उनका जो decided price होता होगा, fine, okay. Then ONDC model is trying to replicate the success of UPI interface, Unified Payment Interface, in the field of digital payments. So UPI allows people to send or receive money irrespective of the payment platform they are registered on. This we all know. Fine. So what led to formation of ONDC? क्यों ये किया गया है? Basically, the government had one survey after this pandemic. Because we know that after pandemic the e-commerce got boost, everyone was ordering everything on online platform. But through that survey, what the government found, there is huge disconnect between the scale of online demand and the ability of local retail ecosystem to participate. Local जो retail होते हैं ना, they are not participating on the big platforms. There is hurdle because on this big platform there are big sellers and these local retailers will not be able to compete with them. Okay, also these are having some kind of bias. इनके ऊपर मतलब वो antitrust वाला बहुत ज़्यादा issue चलता है, right? They are having their bias. जैसे अभी Amazon वाला issue जो चला था, one company, that CloudTel company जो था वो Amazon ने खुद ही उस पे इन्वेस्ट किया था and that was seller on the Amazon. अभी उन्होंने जो वो खुद से डिक्लेयर किया कि we are not allowing CloudTel and CloudTel is exiting now the selling business, e-commerce business. So such kind of things happens on these platforms. Okay, now what will be further benefits here? At present the status is pilot stage on 5 cities. Which cities? Delhi, NCR, Bengaluru, Bhopal, Shillong and Coimbatore. Okay, and over the period of next 5 years, this will expand to 90 crore users and 12 lakh sellers, it is expected. Now, likely benefits, it will standardize operations like cataloging, inventory management, order management and order fulfillment, and hence making it simpler, easier for small businesses to be discoverable over the network and conduct the business. At present, let's say suppose there is a retail shop. That retail shop needs to be registered on each and every e-commerce site to increase its consumer base. Try to understand this. And उसको बार बार देखता पड़ता है कि अरे ऑर्डर इस प्लेटफॉर्म से आया, इस प्लेटफॉर्म से आया, उस प्लेटफॉर्म से आया. So it is very difficult for order management. ठीक है, and it reduces its competitiveness. ये वो बेचेगा, 2 रुपए प्रॉफिट कमाएगा, या इसमें ही पड़ता रहेगा. ठीक है, so that's why this is going to be beneficial. But experts have also pointed some issues, potential issues, like getting enough number of e-commerce platform to sign up. As you were saying, the problem is going to be this one. If big platforms are not participating, then it is not going to be successful largely. So yes, it depends on more e-commerce platforms signing up on this, then only it is going to be. The issues related to consumer service and payment integration, that will be further required to be done. ठीक है, so consumer service, customer service. At present, each and every e-commerce website have their own customer service. If suppose they are linked to each other on this platform, who will provide customer service? Who will take responsibility?
Government of India will need to take
No.
website is maintaining your government now.
No, that is fine, but that conflict will happen, no? So who should take responsibility if the problem arises? Ultimately, the customer service may suffer. Issue we are saying here. So this should be looked into while launching this.
Ultimately, this target is going to be targeting to the private companies. They need to share each and every data of the government of India. Otherwise, they will not able to run.
See, that is not Government of India entity. It is non-profit organization.
But ultimately,
Okay.
under the government.
No. It is not government entity. It is going to be non-profit organization or non-profit entity registered under Companies Law or Societies Act, and this will work independently, autonomously, and it will earn its revenue autonomously, independently. So that's why we are saying that it is going to be independent. It will earn its revenue. Okay? Although it is non-profit, but it will earn some revenue also for running its own, platform. Then Supreme Court order expand gun rights in US. Just now we talked about this, so we'll skip this discussion. Same discussion just now we had about this, while understanding the context. This, what should be answer here?
See, sir.
Okay. So about open network for digital commerce, it is non-profit organization. This is correct. It aims to enable buying of products from participating e-commerce platform by consumers through a single platform. This is also true. So both statements are correct here, 1 and 2. C is the correct answer. Fine. So let us stop then.
Welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Study General Studies with Lukmaan IAS for building comprehensive knowledge. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. Live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, Lukmaan IAS has set up a niche in the field of UPSC guidance.